And while that career criminal was out on the streets despite multiple prior arrests, the Manhattan DA still consumed with President-elect Donald Trump, who may have just gotten a massive legal victory as sentencing for his New York v. Trump case could now be postponed until 2029. A Trump official telling Fox News Digital, quote, "Their case is in shambles, and now everyone knows it is on its way to the ash heap of history. It is a major victory for President Trump." Criminal defense attorney Brian Claypool joins me now. Brian, I look at this more of like a PR chess match at this point than a legal chess match. You heard the statement from the Trump team. The DA is saying, we're still going after Trump. We're still going to fight this case. So legally, I want to ask you this. What should Trump want more? Should he want this sentencing stay that keeps this case alive, hanging over his head for the next 4 years? Or should he want an immediate sentencing that provides the opportunity for him to appeal it now and end it once and for all?
Hey, Todd, great to be back with you. Look, if I'm representing President Trump, I would actually file a motion right now to throw out the verdict based on the Supreme Court's ruling on immunity, presidential immunity. Because remember, I would argue that the only facts that the jury decided tied Trump to this alleged crime was the federal election. Remember that somehow this was tied to influencing a federal election, and that falls under the Supreme Court's immunity ruling. So I would file a motion now, try to get this verdict thrown out of court, and then if that doesn't work, then obviously you deal with this in 2029. But look, I try to toss this whole thing out of court based on that ruling.
But I believe that they have tried that, and in order for this to ultimately reach the appellate stage, assuming for argument's sake that Judge Merchan denies such a motion like you mentioned, you have to basically you have to be sentenced in order for this thing to ultimately be appealed. And I think that's where the confusion comes in. Our colleague Jonathan Turley says this postponement creates a scenario where President Trump is on a leash. Interesting metaphor there. An appearance of a president beholden to state and local officials whenever Trump makes a New York decision if this case is still active. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, look, he really is on a leash, but I think the leash is getting longer and longer. Look, at the end of the day, Todd, I don't see any judge on the planet ever sentencing a president, if you wait till 2029, a former president to jail on really, let's call it what it is, a misdemeanor charge. And I think that former President Trump, well, he's a president now, Trump should really just forge ahead. And the sentencing is now, delayed until 2029. Focus on doing his job, and then look in 2029 if the sentencing occurs and he's sentenced, for example, to jail for 30 or 60 days, right, then he can appeal the sentence. He'll get post bond, and be out pending the appeal, and then fight the appeal at that time. But look, I think by the time you get to 2029, Todd, the entire climate of our country changes, and I just do not see this judge ever sentencing Trump to jail time.
He's also going to be almost 83 years old. That needs to be mentioned then by 2029. Quickly, before we let you go, Daniel Penny trial resuming tomorrow after Marines who served with Penny take the witness stand, revealing he was actually awarded a humanitarian service medal for his relief efforts during Hurricane Florence. On the stand, one of the Marines said, "You have to be someone who displays empathy above reproach to receive that kind of a medal." How important is that testimony, Brian, in figuring out Penny's state of mind, excuse me?
Yeah, I think it's a huge piece of evidence, and because what Daniel Penny did, and this is what his lawyers are arguing, is heroic. This is somebody who stepped in the face of danger to potentially other travelers on the subway and potentially saved lives. And look, Todd, at the end of the day, I think Penny's lawyers have to make the argument in closing that we cannot penalize somebody for stepping in and being heroic when we live in a society where most people stand and watch We have people across this country that will watch crimes occurring. They'll take videos of it, laugh at it while people are getting killed. Here you have Kenny stepping in and doing what he thinks is the right thing to do. And I think that's the argument that's got to be made. And look, I think he's got a great chance of being acquitted.
Yeah, it's the Kitty Genovese scenario on steroids here in 2024. Brian Claypool, thanks for your time. Carly, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Todd.